Welcome to the Mad Ones. I'm your too tired to write an intro host, Cam Harless, and joining me today as my co-host is Whip. I'm secretly Frank Zappa Spoon.
What's buddy, your beard looks way grayer in that intro.
I know. Well, yeah.
I don't know what kind of color matching you're doing here in studio.
Human growth hormones.
But it's a lot.
A lot of testosterone.
It's a lot of color correction.
It should be.
Good evening.
My wife will not let me go all white.
That'll
change.
Won't
let me do it. She won't let me do it. I mean, one day it'll do it itself. I mean, it's really working on it, but you know, she won't let me do it yet. All right, so we have a show. Sorry, I'm late. It I would say it happens, but it doesn't. This is new, and I'm not happy about it. But it's all my fault because I was like, hey, let me make a new intro, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever made, and I love that about myself. All right, let's get to it. This show is 100% brought to you by fans and patrons. So hit like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends. There are all sorts of topics we've covered. Share them with someone who might gain something from them. Also, join Patreon for the occasional early episode, Zoom hangout, and my eternal gratitude. Hit up patreon.com/themadOnes for that. Also, you can grab a shirt if you want to. I have tons of new shirts. I have hoodies now. I've got mugs. We have stickers, but it's really cool. I've diversified because now I have two different things on the side. There's the Black Tank Club. If you go to blacktankclub.com, you can get mine. You can join mine and Brad Binkley from the Propaganda Reports Black Tank Club by getting some merch there. Or if you want to support our bid for the presidency in 2024, you can go to Binkley Harless 2024 and merch up over there. If you love me, you'll do it. That's all I've got to say about that. But you know, I've been working so much, Whip. Like I've been over the last.
It's been busy for you.
Week and a half.
I haven't seen you around much.
No, I don't have time.
Which is good.
It's good. I just
idle hands, devil's playground.
Right. Well, and I'm stupid enough to also fun thing. I'm starting my master's degree come January because I'm a ding dong and I like to waste my time, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it.
Someone's going to call you master.
Until they call me doctor.
Until...
but yeah, no, so I do not have the energy to actually to write an intro for your friend. And I thought, hey, he's your friend anyway. Why don't you introduce the guest and tell us what we're going to talk about?
I have the energy because I made a thermos of coffee. So our guest this evening is a man. He's one of my 3 IRL BFFs. He is a man that we're just going to call Pipes, and you can find him in the wilds of Northern Carolina, the deep northwesternmost, deepest. You go past the Hees and over the Haws. You go through the hills and over the Yonders and the Hollers, and then you go up the mountain and you'll find a Pipes. Now, this man is a mural artist. He is a accomplished self-taught painter. He's one of the most out there, able to look at life from an outsider angle, people that I've ever been fortunate enough to meet. My buddy Pipes.
And I hit the button, and he appears.
How are you, gentlemen? How we doing?
Making it.
I hear you.
Better now that you're here.
Certainly had worse days, my man.
Yeah, dude. I'll be honest.
Good to be here.
Pipes here sat with me the longest as I cursed at my computer as I was trying to get things to do what I wanted them to do. So I you know, hey, he was patient. The audience was patient. I'm thrilled with that. So I was struggling to find like my last Christmas show and what we would do, which is actually ended up being the first because I was supposed to have Santa Claus on this damn show for this episode.
Yeah.
And he ghosted me. More like Ghost of Christmas Past.
About the North Pole, much less the South Pole. It's sketch, dude.
I'm saying, but so I asked some people what they thought they would want to speak, want us to talk about, or want me to find someone to talk about, and I was told by 2 people independently they wanted to hear about like Krampus and Belsnickel and the Yule lads and all of that weird crap that comes along with Christmas and Santa Claus in primarily German countries, or places that Germans settled. And I was like, yeah, let me do that. And so I'd searched for days to try to find, because there has to be someone who's down with this folklore, like there's got to be some sort of expert on it. There's not. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to read up on it. Whip's going to read up on it. His buddy Pipes is going to bring some stuff to the table. We'll talk about this because I
learned we find out
some stuff today, and I'm excited to discuss it. So, Whip, I'm going to actually let you start this because I feel like you have some stuff you want to say. Unless look at Pipes first. See what he's got in the chamber.
Go ahead, Whip.
Well, I am as someone of German descent. I am not familiar with any of this, like none of it, because I grew up German Baptist and super religious, and all of these interpretations are for the devil. And this is Jesus' birthday, and anything otherwise than Jesus' birthday is probably wrong.
I will say, it's funny that you say that because not the German Baptists, but the Dutch, Pennsylvania Dutch, which are just Germans, and people didn't know that German. Deutsch meant German. Yeah. German. They're the ones who have continued on one of these things, which I find funny.
I believe that's the Belsnickel.
Belsnickel. Yep.
Schnickel.
Belsnickel, as popularized by Dwight Schrute on The Office. What I've kind of
definitely popularized and became more more interested in because of The Office.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like all of these characters, as I was trying to study up, the reason there's not like anyone who's like super into this and like is a expert, it's because they're all the same character in different clothes, essentially.
It's just the same dude on a different day. Is he on a manic episode, or is he a little depressed, maybe a little angry?
Well, it's like so I'll start with Krampus, as they like to say, which I won't say because I'm American, damn it. Krampus.
That's like Appalachian and Appalachian. It's
Bro, I first heard of Krampus in South Park. That's where I met.
It's
Krampus.
Comedy shows.
Really?
It's comedy shows where we learn these things.
Yeah.
Or our kids are probably horror movies.
Are the last people that can speak out liberally right now, because they mask, real talk and comedy, and they can get away with it in this new world we live in. Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can get away with it, and then sometimes you have to write a letter apologizing to the entire industry because you took a picture with someone that you were friends with. It goes either way. But yeah, I hear you.
Okay, Blue Scorpion asked, do the Amish have any special folklore like this? Because I wouldn't think so. Which, by the way, I keep freaking forgetting. I need to ask. So there's this guy on TikTok, Yoder Toter. I don't know if you've heard of this guy or if you've seen him, but he is ex-Amish. Like his mom is still Amish. His dad died in the Amish world, but he got out of the Amish world. And I just want to talk about that. So I'm working on that if you're interested. But
I've never heard. I have no idea if the Amish are even involved in any kind of form of Santa or.
I wonder if do they do Christmas? I don't know. I don't even know about that.
I'm totally looking it up right now.
Yeah, to be honest,
pull that shit up, Whip.
Podcast out with that and hit me up with that. I haven't researched and I have no idea.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Dutch, a lot of them are Amish, but some of them are just people who happen to be near. That's where a lot of German people went. When I lived in Pennsylvania for 7 months, they had a festival. It wasn't an Amish festival; it was a Pennsylvania Dutch festival, and so some Amish showed up, but it was more than that. So yeah, I think it's probably less Amish, more just anyone from that lineage that do the Belsnickel thing.
Well, it's yeah, well, go ahead. It's mainly, I think what I've found, and I know nothing of the Amish, but what I've found is it's mainly Germany, and on top of that, Siberia.
Yeah.
Where the original origins of anything that has a close connotation to other than the Muscura mushroom, excuse me, Muscura mushroom legend of Santa. In my research and in what I've heard in my lifetime, the origins of Santa come from.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard that. We did. I last year we talked to someone. His name is Troy from. I forget the name. I'm so sorry, Troy. I forgot the name of your show. But we talked about Saint Nicholas and like the reality of who that person was and how that was a portion of the myth, but it definitely splintered off, like, for sure. One of the things that I found interesting that when I was looking into Krampus or Krampus is that technically Krampus isn't actually a name of a specific entity, where it wasn't. Now it is. But at first, that was the kind of catch-all term that included all of these sorts of entities. I'm not going to say deities, but there is interesting things. Which, by the way, I had some of my hopes dashed while doing research. By the way, but Krampus is. So one of the things that I heard, and I was like, "That's really interesting," was that he's a descendant of the daughter of Loki, Hel, the goddess of the underworld in Norse mythology, and that's where Krampus came from. Unfortunately, here's the intrigue. Whip, Krampus, Belsnickel, all of the different, I forget the word for the perkta, the different perktins.
Frau Perkta.
Yeah. Well, the word
Frau Perkta is what I saw the most.
On the mushrooms?
No, just in general.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. So before there was Krampus, before there was Belsnickel, before that there was the concept of the Perktin, which were kind of Krampus, pre-Krampus, kind of these semi-malevolent beings that went around testing children and potentially eating them.
That's what I found too.
That became in what Krampus was and what the elves are now. What Krampus was, which was the OG Santa Claus, but he had the elves, and then now the elves make the toys. But the OG and what you're talking about, that was where the legend of the elves came from, which evolved into Krampus, which had elves that would come get you. They came to your house if you were bad and got you and brought you to Krampus, which was the OG, and his elves worked for him, and he sat in one place, and the elves went out and got you if you were bad. And if you were good, you didn't get nothing.
No, not from Krampus.
You didn't get nothing. Yeah, you got it from your parents, your family.
But if you had Belsnickel comes around, you might get treats.
Belsnickel, that's a different derivative version of it. Belsnickel, also didn't come down your chimney. He rudely knocked on your window.
I heard he scratched on your window.
You weren't asleep. You were awake, and he came right to you. And
tell me your Bible verses, little boy.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd whip you if you were bad, and he'd judge you. He'd ask you one question and judge you, and either whip you or let you drink. It was like you drank something. I don't remember, but the OG, going back to start on the origins, that's where the elves, the ideal of the elves came from originally,
right
before Krampus.
Well, it's interesting because one of the things next week we're talking to not next week, the week after, we're talking to Mike Jones from Inspiring Philosophy, who's like taken up the mantle of fighting Jim Staley and some of the other people who are like Christmas itself is pagan, and because that's not historically accurate.
Sure.
So we're going to talk to him about that in a couple weeks. But one of the things that I learned, I went to look into this Jim Staley guy that he had mentioned about his documentary about how Christmas is all pagan and so is Easter. And he starts telling this story about how the elves come from Krampus demons and stuff like that, and how it's all a part of Christmas. And what's so funny is how he's the one who made the connection of Krampus to Hel, who I don't know if you know anything about the Loki's daughter, Hel.
Yeah.
But she's like half dead. So like split between the middle, dead woman, beautiful alive woman. Mm-hmm. Fascinating character in folklore. But
one L.
Yeah, one L, which is I still think that's where we got our word hell from. I mean, I can't see how else we got that word in English. But I don't see where else it's mentioned. Right. Like what other language would that come from? But so he was talking about that and how it's deeply pagan from before. And when I was doing some research, Krampus nights weren't recorded until 1582. Okay. That's the first time Krampus was ever recorded, which is 1500 years after Christmas started, right? They were doing it for since Jesus died. They did some form of Christmas essentially. But what I found out, and this is the intrigue, Whip, is scholars have found that the false pagan origin story of Krampus was invented in the early 20th century by socialist folklorists attempting to cast Christianity as a practice that sullied ancient Nordic customs.
Communists!
The Nazi Party reinforced this false claim, publishing a photo essay portraying the Krampus as an ancient custom banned for its pagan roots. In reality,
this entire podcast is based on communist versus Nazi propaganda.
Yep.
Not at all. It starts way before then, but yeah.
But yeah, the
we're
idea
worldwide right now. We're worldwide right now. Whip.
Yeah, but that's what was interesting is this idea that they brought this in as a way to sully Christianity. That is like historical fact. And so the paganness of Krampus, which by the way, the church did try to stop Krampus Nachts several times, and I think they tried to stop it elsewhere too, or at least the Perkta Nox or whatever. And people were like, oh, it's because it was the devil. And they wanted to stop it. It was like Halloween's evil. So you obviously have to stop Krampus Nacht. But they just didn't like how drunk and rowdy the people got. And that's why they were trying to do it. And it didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop them drinking.
I've read that too. They were just basically like trying to control the crowds and tame the shrew, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Nazis and socialists / communists are part of the Krampus story. I didn't expect to hear that. I didn't expect to hear that. Then go deeper and actually find that rumor was started by them in the 20th century.
I only found the National Socialist aspect of it just today in that one clip you sent me, which was interesting. Yeah. By the way,
that's what's so fascinating is because like, as I was looking into different parts of this, I was like, well, this is what this person said. And then this person completely said that wasn't true, but they gave their citations. And so like, I'm a little bit more on their side because they're like, hey, I've got this here. I'll show you this. And so like, I don't know. So I want to know what you think, Pipes. I almost called you by your real name. I want to know what you think, Pipes, because I feel like
it's my last name. It's totally okay.
Okay, I didn't realize it was your actual last name.
No, it's
his real last name.
My last name is Pipes. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay, cool. But yeah, no. So tell me what you're thinking right now, because you look like you're frustrated by what I'm saying in some.
No, I'm not.
I want to know.
No, when I get interested, I get intense looking, and I apologize for that. I'm extremely excited to be here and extremely into the subject matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just say between that and just some little things here or there, I didn't find much. So it's going to be definitely more freeform than I thought. But one of the things I wanted to mention, well, it says the Perkton are mischievous alpine spirits and are likely the folkloric precursors to Krampus. So there is a history of it, just not Krampus itself. That was kind of a later
exactly.
creation.
And in my opinion, from what I've heard and seen and researched like over the years, and it's been always been like a super fascinating, amazing topic, as how it's evolved over the years from and way precursor to Christianity, way precursor to Krampus, is of course based on not even, it's everything basically is still based on winter solstice, and the shortest day of the year, and then darkness. It stays in one spot, and then 3 days later changes course. Okay, and that has to do with stuff that Horus from Egyptian mythology and Christianity obviously is based on the relationship between Horus and Jesus is almost identical, and et cetera, et cetera.
You know what's funny about that?
Fascinating. Go ahead.
I do want to throw a cog in your mind for you to look into.
Sure.
The person who made those claims about Horus, Mithra, all of that, it's a telephone game from someone who'd never cited anything. So there's no claims that are actually like founded in history. So
right.
Maybe you can find them.
None of it's founded, or this is theory.
Right. It's speculation
that I'm interested in. This is not verbatim, text or whatever, but there are semblances in Egyptian hieroglyphs for Horus that can be translated as such that relate. And then, but the base thing that I'm looking at is the relationship between the sun and the earth cycles with the sun from, the 4 seasons and etc. And so every winter when things get dark and scary, seemingly throughout history, from theory of what people have looked up and is not documented or acclaimed, is that most people in the winter, it's a hard time and they want to have a happy time.
Yeah. Unless you're German or
exactly.
Nordic
Okay.
in
Exactly.
some way.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. But going back even further, there's a whole thing, and many very famous podcasters, I will say, have related to it. And there's the thing about the muscura mushroom, which is red and white, it's the Siberia and the Arctic had where they would have shamans, and they would get these mushrooms, and there is a theory again that these shamans would take the muscura mushrooms and put them on trees to dry them out, which is a theory that where ornaments came from. And then also where they think the idea of gifts came from is they put them under the tree and people could come get them if they would like. And then there's another theory that, and in Siberia and the Arctic, there were, of course, reindeer. Mm-hmm. Well, reindeer will eat these mushrooms also. And that's a proven fact. They will eat these mushrooms. And
they get red noses.
You will go, yeah, right. Red nose. That's another thing. It was from Santa Claus's suit to modern day to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, i.e., tying that into this myth or mythology. But you and your reindeer, which was like your horse back in the day, and your pride, your number one possession, like a horse. Even in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, blah, 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 that we know of, is one of your prized possessions. Even now in third world countries that are way northern, That's a big deal to have that. Well, you would go on this shaman-led spiritual journey, and your reindeer and you would eat these mushrooms, okay? And you could see how people would think, okay, well, that would come, that's what, came from, well, reindeer can fly because you're tripping balls. and you've got a shaman leading you, almost like, and these mushrooms, the muscaria mushroom is like DMT or Jimson seeds or peyote or mescaline.
It's a different ride than
it's
like
not
a standard
like
cubensis.
cubensis. Yeah, it's not like LSD. It's not like normal mushrooms, whatever.
Nope.
This stuff you go away. You do not, again, ayahuasca, these extremely intense hallucinogens and psychedelics. But that's where they've kind of researched into it, and there's been a lot of, from Graham Hancock to I can't remember his name right now, but there's so many people that study hunter-gatherers and are trying to dispel, affirmed, quote unquote, affirmed, what we say is not theory, history, that this was a huge thing that predates Christianity by thousands of years. And it was what is mildly based off of, not Coca-Cola, but this mushroom that is red and white, the reindeer that can fly. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That I think is very interesting, and if not, has some, reputable information there that did happen. And they did do this, and that is documented, not respected, but documented.
I didn't find
in Siberia and the Arctic, and that where ornaments come from, them drying them out on the trees. Furthermore, they just leave these under the trees, and if you would like to take one, you may, but the shaman has to come with you. You bring your reindeer with you. And again, this is just Siberia and the Arctic. And then, you can go from there. Red and white Santa suit, reindeer that can fly. That's just that's a base premise of what I researched. As far back as I could go to where the origins of Santa came from, that's the most I've ever found on that subject.
I've heard that. So, of course, you have the figure of Saint Nicholas. That's a historical figure that is definitely a part of this story. But I have heard in the past that Santa's based on Odin and the wandering Odin and all of that. Which
all of them have the big white beard,
right?
Which all of the legends that supposedly came from, coincidentally, all have a big white beard, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that's that. It's all of that's really. Oh, wait, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, it always felt to me that like Saint Nicholas, the actual historical figure, kind of got to like adopt some of the stuff in the background, like I
think it was kind of thrust on him,
or that
more than anything.
Yeah,
because from what I can tell, he did have a history of like leaving like.
I don't
gold
know
coins.
Oh man, my language.
Your language.
I'm sorry, bud.
Well, no, you're good. The stories behind Saint Nicholas are there's not a lot of shoe folklore. There's some, but there's one story about how Saint Nicholas, there were 2 or 3 boys who were cut up and thrown into a pickle brine by some shop owner, and Saint Nicholas came by and was like, "Boom, you're alive now," and resurrected these boys from the pickle brine. There's also the story of him essentially paying the dowry for a girl who I don't know if she was going to be going into slavery or what. I can't remember exactly. We did an episode on it last year. If you want to listen to that, it's there.
I should
And
have.
then there's also, you know, some different things about him, like leaving a certain amount of money for people who needed money, and it wasn't gifts and stuff like that. It wasn't candies. It was like genuine, like, here, let me help you live kind of stuff.
Well, in St. Nicholas, it was like, I think like right after AD, it was like 300 AD or something like that.
Something like that.
I'm going off memory. I don't know, but it was like 300 AD, but he was known for generosity.
Right.
And so this was
he was apparently a rich man
after Krampus. I mean, this was, it was more of a Judeo-Christian Santa Claus. It's the St. Nicholas, which he's still called to this day, but I believe it was like 300 AD, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there's definitely been some
popular
culture mix and matching, like, for sure.
It was like out of Turkey.
Yeah,
it was somewhere in that area, if I'm not mistaken. But that's where, and a lot of people relate it to the Vatican and Catholicism, but it was from Turkey, I believe.
Well, yeah, and that was really before there was Catholicism, like well before the schism and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's interesting.
Asia Minor is Turkey, right?
Yeah, he was from Myra. It was Saint Nicholas of Myra. Apparently, he went to the
Myra. That's it. Modern day Turkey, still Myra.
Yeah, he went to one of the. My God, my brain's not working at full capacity. One of the Christian conventions, what are they called? Councils. And there was one that allegedly he went to the one where they were arguing with Arius, and he just slapped the crap out of Arius in the middle of that council.
I've heard that. That's a great story. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a little bit of a brawler, which is fascinating. One of the things that I wanted to say, because you're talking about the mushrooms. Before I do that, before I forget, one of the things that's interesting about Krampus is over time in Germany, they had one of the first solid mailing situations, and they started selling postcards, and Krampus postcards sold very well. At first, it was traditional Krampus things with them beating children, stuff like that. And then it moved on to, like, there's a sexy woman in Krampus or a sexy lady Krampus, stuff like that. And so
that's all modern. That's all modern.
Yeah, it's all modern. Yeah.
But there's movies now. There's all these Krampus movies. The best, if I may, real quick to interject, the best movie I've ever seen based off of the basic premise of the Krampus legend is it's called Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale.
Oh, you told me about that.
It is so good. It's not, I mean, it's called Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. It's out of Finland from 2010, and it is amazing. It is so well done for, like, I don't even want to call it a B movie, but it is.
Yeah.
But it's in English, and when you'll forgive my ignorance, I know both Sweden and Finland are based off of Dutch language, but I'm not sure what language they speak. Danish. Do they speak straight Danish in Finland?
I think they speak Finnish.
Finnish. Yeah, but Finnish. Okay. Yeah. So it's half in Finnish, half in, well, really it's about 3/4 in Finnish and the rest in English. But that movie is so good. And it's I think the best movie based off of the technical Krampus legend, where the elves don't make toys. They're the ones that come and get you and bring you to Krampus.
And see like that. Okay. Let me say this, and then I'm going to respond to that.
Go ahead.
Real quick, those things with the sexy Krampus have actually led to, in Austria, there is now an understanding that being hit by Krampus's birch switch grants fertility. Just wanted to throw that out there. That's how popular culture works.
That sounds like from China. Like that sounds like I'm going to the Philippines and drinking some Cobra whiskey.
But I think
that sounds exactly like German.
Yeah, it sounds like the guy who got busted with a bunch of animal penises.
Dude.
So what's funny is when I was watching and looking at and reading different things, one of the things they kept bringing up was I just laughed, was like, yeah, Belsnickel is not really much celebrated except in some parts of Pennsylvania, one part of Germany, and some parts of Argentina. I was like,
so why
Nazis?
Pennsylvania? Is that Amish? Because Pennsylvania is full of Amish people. That's very interesting.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Dutch are just Germans.
It's Dutch. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just Dutch, but I know there's
Pennsylvania
so many,
Deutsch.
There's a lot of
they
Amish
just
in Pennsylvania.
They just didn't know how to say Deutsch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do find the concept of Krampus kind of sitting and sending out minions interesting, because that sort of folklore is one of the things I read a couple times.
That's why Santa sits at the North Pole, because he's at a central location from where Krampus used to be.
Right.
And think about Santa going all over the world by himself real quick. Nah, think about he sends out his minions.
Yeah. Just wait. I have a more fun connection.
Okay, I love it. I love it. This is awesome.
So, Krampus sends out his minions, which goes to prove that he is in fact not deity, but what's the word? Finite. He can't be everywhere.
Sure.
He's not omnipresent. Sure. He can't go everywhere and be everywhere. Santa can't either.
So the real psyop is Santa. Like the actual real psyop here, real quick, sorry, is that Santa is like the dude in The Usual Suspects, where he makes everybody think it's everybody else, except he's just making everybody think it's him. But really, it's still just his elves. It's been his elves the whole time.
Right.
And the thing about psyops is there's always 8 of them, if not an infinite amount. That's what a psyop is it's every version of everything. And Santa is a perfect depiction, and all these different versions of it is exactly what we're talking about.
Well, here's the thing. When I was reading, I kept coming across the idea that these characters were born out of a more or less satanic ideal. So they were kind of anti-Christmas, anti-Santa. Well, Santa wouldn't, obviously, but like Belsnickel, Krampus, the Perktons,
perceivably from our view, satanic idea, I would say.
Right. Well, the satanic
idea that paraphrasing didn't exist.
The satanic archetype.
Right.
Adversarial archetype. Because
well put, sir.
It's interesting to me because the way that you're describing it as Krampus sitting and sending his minions is not the current Christian conception of the Satan, but it is the one from antiquity, because a lot people now seem to think that this dude's everywhere all the time doing all sorts of evil stuff. Like they think that they're in the room with the devil. You're not in the room with the devil. He doesn't have that kind of power, but what he does have is legions, in this idea, legions of assholes to run around and do this to people, right? It's the same archetype.
Right. And if I may, what's the basic premise that's the easiest way to say the relationship of he sees you while you're sleeping, he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've done bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. It's what we teach children. And then they were like,
the CIA.
Then in modern day culture, we're like, no, he's not real. But here's Jesus as an adult. And if you're good, he sees you while you're sleeping. He knows every thought you have. He knows everything you do. And if you're really good, you go to heaven. And if you're bad, you go to hell. It's the same exact theology and lesson and premise and statement as Santa Claus in modern day culture that we teach to children about Santa. And then we tell them when they're about 7 or 9 that we're lying. But this thing we've been taking you to, this giant, beautiful building we've been taking you to, I have nothing against Judo Christianity. I fully support people doing well, but it's a bottom line. I'm even apologizing for making a disclaimer about it. It's brass tacks. We do that to 90% of the children, that I've come in contact with and met is Santa. You better be good for goodness sake, or you're not getting anything. You're getting coal. And the opposite of it, when times were harder in the old days and well, no, you're not gonna, you might get your parents' blessing, but Santa's gonna come take you away. And it was the same thing in Judo-Christianity. It was the same thing in Greek mythology. It was the same thing, whatever. Like, if you're bad, the gods are gonna just strike you down.
Yeah.
And you'll be good. You'll be rewarded when you die, but as children, you're taught there's this entity that does this. And in the old days, they didn't separate them. They didn't say to you, oh, we were lying about Krampus. We were lying about Santa, which we do now. And they did a couple thousand years ago about Krampus. But the gods are real. The Judeo-Christian God is real. And now we're telling you, and we've simultaneously been taking you to church, teaching you about these, gods and whatever. I just think, and none of this is what I believe or think, but we're just talking about what we know of history. And I think it's very interesting, the semblance between that. And I'm not on board with teaching, it's so fun for the parents and the magic of it to have children and them think there's a Santa is so fun for the kids and us as children, when we were children, to believe in Santa. But then they're like, nah, your frontal lobe's developing a little bit. We were lying. And then why do you think is a part of why the kids quit listening to us at 7 or 12? I think that has a little bit to do with it, if not.
Well, yeah, like I never believed in Santa. That was just never one of those things that I bought into.
Did your parents tell you?
No, my parents refused to lie to me.
Well, that's it. That's it.
So
if they had, you'd have believed in Santa, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Like I was smart enough as a kid to see TV and know that.
Not when you're 5, bro.
No, I'm telling you, it's like when I never even had to ask them. I was just like, they tell you he's fake on TV. Like how
old are you? I'm sorry.
I'm 34.
Yeah.
No, they did.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even have, like, when I was growing up, I didn't get television until like I was 10. But the thing is, I could read super early, and like Santa isn't going to sign my dad's fucking name to, my dad's name to
I'll
my
just put the thing
present. But like Santa's not going to sign any cards. And all of these presents have cards signed on them. None of them say from Santa.
I was smart enough to know my parents' handwriting. I mean, like, I'm
right.
with all of you.
I can fake your name. I know what it looks like. Santa didn't sign that.
I remember when I was like, when I could first form memories, I was probably 4. And I remember my parents not being in the room. And it was oddly enough like a prayer.
Sure.
And I was like, Santa, and I was looking through this, like, it was probably, I'm old. It wasn't a Sears catalog, but it was something like that. And I'm flipping through it, and I saw these little, it was like not Legos, but it was like this little castle thing. I remember it vividly. And there was this castle you could build, and there were guardians and warriors. And I was like, Santa. And I was talking to Santa like a prayer. I really want this for Christmas. And I was talking to Santa. And my parents weren't around, and I didn't get that for Christmas. And I remember that vividly, man. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I never did the Santa thing. My parents, I mean, they didn't go out of their way to tell me Santa wasn't real. They just kind of left it up to me, and I just never bought into it.
I remember I called him out that Santa wasn't real, and I was about 7 years old. And I do remember saying to my parents, like, some guy with bells on his socks. And I've always been a smart ass. And whatever. I was like, some guy with bells on his socks that travels the whole world in a night and And I kind of believed in Santa, and I wanted to believe in Santa. And then my mom was like, yeah, he's not real. You figured it out. I'm like, darn it. I was like, man, come on. I really want some magic in my life, because you're 7. Yeah.
Well, that's one of those conversations, I had with my mom. Cause like, I don't know if Whip told you this. I have a degree in biblical studies. Like I'm big into that.
Amazing. I had no idea. That's awesome.
No, I forgot to tell him, by the way.
Yeah. I'm big into that.
Thanks
Jesus
for prepping
thing.
Me. Whip. Good talk, man.
I'm here to help, bud.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. But no, what's interesting is, like, there was another point I wanted to make. But no, it's the reasons my mom never lied to me. She was like, because, why would I set Santa up and then tell you that I lied to you later on when I believe in Jesus and I don't want you to lump those two things together.
See, that's awesome. See, that's better. And I think that's awesome, but it also,
Jessica's here.
The modern day parenting thing.
Hey,
Jessica,
guys.
hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Jessica.
Good.
What are we talking about?
Oh, well, I was about to, Santa at the moment.
Oh,
but
okay.
I was about to say that what's interesting is he mentioned what was the name of the mushroom pipes?
Amanita muscaria.
Muscaria or muscura. It's pronounced like 8 different ways, but muscaria or muscura mushroom, which is the most ancient thing I've ever heard of or researched. And I've researched the origins of Santa and Krampus and etc. Krampus.
It's the one that you find in the stained glass in Gnostic churches, in the oldest Gnostic churches.
Yes.
That's the mushroom you find in that stained glass.
Thank you. And that's Graham Hancock that associated that in the most recent modern day studies. But between the red and white and between the fact that it's also, they used to dry them out on trees. That's where ornaments come from. The shamans used to do that and put them under trees. That's where the ideal of presents come from, and etc.
So here's an interesting thing.
That's the oldest thing I could find.
If you look in the Greek, and you let's say you go to the King James version and you find the word sorcery, and you go into the Greek, and this is based off of the what's the Bible, Jessica?
What's the Bible?
Yeah, the I can't remember the name.
The giant book. It's a very large.
You have to give me more information to answer your question.
Very popular.
The LXX. What's it called? What's the name?
The one that has the
Septuagint.
Oh.
So the Septuagint is an early rendering of the Hebrew Bible into Greek. And so when they got to the word sorcery, which I can't tell you what the Hebrew word was, when they translated it to the word pharmakeia, which pharmakeia, it can be used to mean hallucinogens, mind-altering drugs used in the way of witchcraft and otherwise to separate yourself from this dimension or plane of existence, right? But it also does generally, depending on the usage and the context, mean actual sorcery. And so it's very interesting that you mention that, because the idea of mushrooms being a part of the Santa Claus myth with the reindeers flying and all of that plays very well into some of the pronouncements against these things that are in the Hebrew Old Testament and in the New Testament.
And again, the bastardization of Wiccan and any kind of magic or whatever by Judeo-Christianity would, of course, negate any of that kind of mythology or legend would instantly, be totally against the frame of thought.
So the Amanita, if I'm saying that right, forgive me if I'm not, that's the red one with the white dots all over
Yeah,
it?
Amanita muscaria mushroom. That is the number one thing that's related to that they've theorized.
Did you guys already mention the connectivity in the colors?
Oh yeah, the
okay.
Sanskrit. Yes, yeah.
Right.
I see why you didn't want to say the Greek word for sorcery, because it's just like 37 symbols.
Yeah, you don't want to read it in the Greek.
It's so long, dude. It's like
it's not 33.
Right?
They're hoping you'll lose interest and then just
dude. Let me tell you, the first time I opened up a Greek
by the end of that word,
a Greek New Testament, I was just like, how am I supposed to learn this? This isn't, I can't. This is not letters. This is someone scribbling.
Dude, I know someone who can read Greek, though. That's actually, I don't think I've actually looked at Greek and been like, oh no, I never want to bother. I don't ever want to bother. I'm looking at this. That's too many letters. Pharmakia works just fine.
Yeah.
And also modern Greek is not the biblical Greek.
Yeah, that's Koine Greek.
Right.
So before you go away from the Judeo-Christian overview and how we lie to kids and then they don't trust what we say and all that, I wanted to touch on something that like sparked in my brain when he was talking about it. And like, so back in the day, the control mechanism in the harder times was like, it wasn't like, all right, we'll reward you if you're good. It was just like, well, if you're good, you get to keep living.
Right.
And if you're bad, well,
okay. So let me just say, and think about, you can call it hunter-gatherer times, more primal times, more
Paleolithic times.
Yeah, Paleolithic times. It's like, hey, we can take you on this journey. We can gift you with this. Does that make sense? It's almost like
like a vacation.
Okay, well, it's this dark time of year. And they all symbiontly were around the winter solstice. I mean, almost throughout history, it was in winter. And, it was like, okay, during these dark times, let's have some celebration and some throughout history, like drinking to keep warm, and families get together. So we're all supporting each other. So you symbolically, much less, you bring everyone together because it's the middle of the winter and we got a little ways to go. And so that's why all of these different things throughout time kind of coincide. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I kind of see that in as a pattern and something that pops up as consistent through all of these legends, all of this supposed and documented history.
What the one point I saw there was that in the earliest, like a lot of things, it seems to me, in the earliest incarnations of something, when it's a homegrown organic thing born out of necessity of a people living through that thing, when it has that, it has a wholesome, healing, regenerative, spiritual, communal aspect to it. And then as we march a little further down in history and things get codified maybe by some dudes getting super drunk, you know, and then maybe the church gets all, hey, don't get so super drunk, you know, and then they kind of institute some other things into it. Like there
That's real
becomes
church
less of
history too.
Please don't
Thanks.
abuse the Eucharist, guys. Thanks.
So like right, so there becomes less of a communal healing born of a necessity, and a little more of like an overarching, hey, maybe you should do what we say, and if you don't, some dude's going to come by, and it would be a real shame if this shop burned down.
And what's the best time to do it? In the
Right.
summertime,
when people are lowest,
you can run off and do whatever you want. You're going to be good. In the wintertime, you need to stay, and you need to, and I'm talking about throughout history and when we don't have the amenities that we do now, you know, you need to stay home with your family and rely on your village and your friends and your community, because it's winter and we've been keep stolen our acorns, man. And it's time to respect your family and the people that, you know, are around you, much less raised you and provided you with shelter and food. The winter time is the number one time. You need to respect that. Even in modern day, like you can get snowed in. Look at Buffalo, New York right now. You think those people are calling, you know, their friends in Florida for empathy? They're not. They're calling their neighbors, and they're all becoming very good friends right now. And they haven't called them since COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did I say a dirty word? Is that bad?
Yeah.
No, you're
so
good.
then,
okay.
Actually,
okay. So
it's
real
funny
quick,
that you mentioned
let me wrap this up.
Okay, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Okay,
Let's move forward.
So then you move out of the church, right? And the Krampus with the stick and he's the buddy to Saint Nick, and they kind of just work as a team. And you move out of the church stuff, right? And you move on into more modern day, where the power structures have moved into a more secular area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the control mechanism at that point becomes Cam mentioned the communists versus the National Socialists, right?
That was interesting.
And then, but you move even farther, and Santa is like our 1950s A Christmas Story mall Santa type fella, you know? And like the stick's just gone, because it's the land of plenty, and we're the greatest country everywhere, you know? And so like we got to remove the stick in everything we do. You know, there's no need to, because we're awesome. And then you move it just a little bit farther, and Krampus kind of comes back, because maybe some people are getting a little bit wild. And you move it a little bit farther, we have Elf on a Shelf. And then you move it like, where are we now? And Elf on a Shelf is the reality. Like that's everybody's everyday, all the time reality.
I love it. I didn't think of the Elf on the Shelf connotation. That's that new, and that's that new fun.
Well, that's what I bring, buddy. That new.
That's that new. That's that new hotness.
What's interesting is how Krampus kind of fell away from the scene for a good long time. And when the consumerism ramped up, when Elf on the Shelf was released, suddenly there's some dark ass Krampus going around.
Well, the parades in Germany.
Yeah.
They have giant parades in Germany for Krampus, and they're amazing. It looks like, it makes New Orleans look like the Vatican. Like, it is dark, bro.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting as like a push.
Parades they have in Germany for Krampus are absolutely amazing. And it is not a, Christmas parade. Let's put it that way.
It's not. Well, it's one of the theories that someone posited was that Krampus, the return of Krampus, especially in his uber demonic form that we're seeing now, horror films, stuff like that, is a response to rabid consumerism and a fight against Santa Claus and all of that. Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to mention is you mentioned how in these different cultures there are these different things that seem to pop up in pattern. You seem to find patterns
consistent.
You know what's interesting is one of the patterns that people act like is just completely weird and unexplainable are across the world. There are these pyramids. there's ziggurats, there are pyramids, there are all of these things across this line. And people are always like, where the hell did these come from? Why are they all along this line? Why did every culture build this except for the Jews? And so it's a good question, but it's really interesting because if you start looking at, because, if you dig into ancient Semitic history, if you dig into history in general, you start to actually notice that if you look at the tabernacle, it is all about recreating Eden. It has all these different imagery in the different parts of the tabernacle and the temple that point back to Eden, which is considered within Judaism and Christianity the cosmic temple,
right?
Where God met man.
And
I was gonna say they don't have a pyramid, but they built a thing. It's just that other people tore it down.
Right, but they didn't build a pyramid. They didn't try to reach up into that area like other cultures did. But what's interesting is if you look back at the Edenic narrative, if you look back at where Eden was, it's at the crossroads of rivers. It's on a mountaintop. It's all of these different things as you look are recreating this one ideal, and so you can trace it back to this concept of a cosmic temple. You can disagree if that whether or not it's the Christian God, aka the Jewish God, in his cosmic temple or not. But it's interesting because I can very easily explain why these things happen, because people spread out and they tried to recreate their temple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And history is destroyed, and people try to recreate history from their heart and their fear and what they love and what they know and what they've got. And history is destroyed by other cultures that move in because they want that's what makes this conversation and every conversation about history difficult, if that makes sense. And y'all forgive me, I have to put another log on the fire, literally.
No worries.
So, give me 1 minute. I have to throw a log on the fire. I live in a little house, and our fire's about out. So I'll be right back.
Throw two on there.
I'm sorry.
But no, it is interesting to me because it's mankind has tried to recreate Eden since the dawn of time. And if you look at the Tower of Babel, that's another story of a ziggurat being built, a temple being built to gods other than. So that's not even to mention the powers, the principalities that are going around and being like, hey, build this thing for me.
Hey, you build it for me.
How are you doing, Jessica? It's been a minute.
I'm okay. I'm getting over. I have the flu that everybody else has. Or I had it. But
I have been fighting. I wouldn't call it a flu, but I've been fighting a cold for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's about.
But I also haven't stopped working for 2 weeks, so
it wasn't enough to like put me down, so I just kept rolling, and I think that was to my detriment because now it's like this never-ending cough. So.
Yeah.
If I start up and have to mute, you'll excuse me.
Are you on the vitamin D?
Yeah, I take all kinds of different stuff out of all different kinds of bottles.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that vitamin D is magic, dude.
Vitamin D, I take the high dose, actually, the 50,000 IU.
Me too. You take it once a week?
That stuff over the counter, man. You got to get that stuff through a guy. He's
do
called a pharmacist, but he's still a guy.
Is it once a week or?
So I'm prescribed to take them twice a week, but I only take them once a week.
I'm prescribed once a week for that. Yeah. So I do it once a week, and then I sit outside and warm my junk outside.
Yeah. I was always told that you needed to take that with zinc for the absorption past the cell membrane.
Okay, that's interesting because I don't know if you guys know what Bose lines are. But there are these horizontal double lines that can appear on your nail beds, on your toenail beds, or your fingernail beds. They're horizontal, not vertical. The vertical ones are normal. But if you have the horizontal ones, they can indicate zinc deficiency. And when I was taking vitamin D, the high dose vitamin D twice a week, I was getting Bose lines. And when I stopped taking it, I stopped getting Bose lines. And I also now take a zinc supplement. So I take all the chemicals.
So
you know
many
what's
things.
interesting about the vitamin D? This is totally off topic, but about the vitamin D is when I was reading up on it because I took it and I was going outside. You know that whole thing. I was losing my freaking hair. But look at this.
Yeah.
Look how
Looks
thick.
great, by the way.
Look at this.
By the way,
It's beautiful.
luscious.
It's back, baby. But one of the things I found out was if you can take the vitamin D all you want, but it doesn't really do anything until you actually go outside and activate it.
Correct.
So there's really no reason to take it unless you're also sitting your butt outside.
Yes.
Or walking around outside.
Or walking around and doing stuff outside.
Yeah, or shaking
That's
almond trees.
It's actually awesome.
How do you pronounce that?
As you can tell by my vampiric complexion,
Salmon?
I don't get a lot of sunshine. So, yeah.
Well, and that's the double entendre yin yang curse of the sun is you get vitamin D, but it also fry your skin.
I'm Irish, so I have a limited time I can stand in that. Yeah.
Here's the deal. When I started sitting out in the sun, I started by doing like 10 minutes a day, and then I did 15. Then I got up to like an hour. And you know what I did? I never once got sunburned.
Yeah, I mean, you put the base down.
You got to put the base down, man.
Yeah.
Start slow.
Well, between the urethane and chemicals I've been exposed to from house painting and then art, and then living in South America for years, it's too late for me. Save yourselves. I have a full head of hair. Real psyched about it.
Dude.
My wife never goes in the sun, and she's drop dead gorgeous at 3 years old. And she is my stepmother. When we went to Thanksgiving, was commenting on like how she looked and like what moisturizers do you use and what she's like. I just never went in the sun.
I know.
Period. Yeah. And she's wrinkle free and drop dead gorgeous at 3 years old. So yeah,
it's weird to marry a 3-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is really.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you which preface of
I'm just going to assume it's 70.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm really impressed with him. Yeah.
I've missed you, Jessica.
I've missed you guys too. I mean, I've literally been talking to you all this whole time, but I haven't seen your faces in a while.
It's nice to see your face.
Look at all the things I did.
I know, it's very nice. I was looking at it while you guys were talking because I didn't quite know what you were talking about. So I was checking out your background each individually. I really like this painting that Whip Scott up behind him.
Who painted that?
This on your side, is this a airbrushed piece behind you?
No, it's all paintbrush. The background is spray paint, but this is
okay.
I just wanted to throw up a painting, and I mean that literally because she's not even done. But I went to my art studio today to prepare for this, and I just grabbed one painting to throw in the background. But I do artwork for a living, and this is I'm sorry, it's a negative flip version, so I'm gonna look this way. That painting is one of my favorites, but she's also one of my most hated paintings in life because she's never going to be done, and I refuse to sell her. And people have offered to buy it, and I'm like, not done. So,
all right.
But I love her, and we're friends. We're good friends. But
what do you want to know about what's behind me now?
Oh, I hope you're asking me because I was so jealous of your background before we started this podcast. Okay, so you've got obviously a shark's mouth. I want to know right above, there's a shark's mouth. Go to, I have no idea, your right or left, up. What is that with the lights on it and the antlers?
Oh, that's a jackalope.
Amazing. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Good job.
Love my jackalope.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell from the lights.
Yeah, so we've got the shark mouth. We've got this is from a Irish whiskey, this is a barrel stave from when Irish whiskey was aged that I used to open beer. I've got here, this one's fun.
I'm not familiar with whiskey at all.
This is, I don't know if you recognize this guy from anything, but it's the mosquito and Amber from Jurassic Park. Because I thought, hey, that's cool. Let's put that back there.
It's interesting that when you hold that object up, I can hear a musical score in my mind.
The musical score. Bat.
Yeah, it's a bat.
In resin.
Yeah. It's gross.
Pipes, I would bet $100 right now that he would buy some of Miranda's artwork.
See this one? This is like the coolest one. It's a freeze-dried rattlesnake.
He would totally buy Miranda's.
He would buy the shit out of that.
She doesn't even do
you
that.
You remember how bad the studio
Aaron,
smelled
she doesn't
when we
do that
drilled that
anymore.
hole in
she
that
works for the movies
turtle?
Now. She's Screen Gems, bro. Yeah.
Got
you remember how
Fox
bad
skull?
Fox skull. Those are gorgeous.
Got the what's it called? The Holy Grail from Indiana Jones. Got the whip from Indiana Jones. There's Santa. Alligator, because I'm in Florida.
You can't see the alligator.
You can't see him at all.
You see the alligator.
Oh, very nice.
Oh,
you're a Florida
man. Tiny.
That's a baby alligator. Is that a caiman or an alligator?
Baby.
It's a little alligator.
Okay.
I love my Grail. That's like probably my favorite thing that's up there.
I think that because you said that, I mean, that defines the Holy Grail.
And then I've got my Mjolnir.
You just picked it up, so now we know you're the true host of this podcast. That's how we know. And when you dropped it, the camera shook.
The whole camera shook.
Did you just see that? That made the podcast right there. Yeah, that's it. Now we know we got a good one.
Yeah, I had fun because what I found out is if you go onto eBay and you have, I don't know if this is legal, so don't do it. But if you get like 3 different accounts,
you talking about the podcast or what you're about to say?
What I'm about to say.
Okay.
If you go on eBay, a couple different accounts, and you do best offers on someone, and you lowball them with 2 of them, and let him say no to those, and then you come in with a reasonable offer that you're willing to pay on your actual account, it works.
You should play the stock market more often. That's brilliant. That's like
all I'm saying.
That's the low V. Like when Johnson & Johnson has a problem, but you know they're an old company, and Fox News says baby powder, their lawsuit. You invest in Johnson & Johnson because their stock's going to drop, but you know they're going to go right back up. That's what you're talking about.
I'm just saying
right now.
If you prime someone for failure, you can win.
Yeah. .com. Yeah, we're in the wrong business, all of us.
Is it ethical? Probably not. Did I do it?
Yep. Are we talking about business or ethical? Because those are 2 totally different animals. Can I interject this to get and I don't want to interrupt this lovely conversation, but what I found out today, and this is what's amazing because I got introduced to this and told I was going to be a part of this a couple weeks ago by Mr. Whip and Spoon. So it is the Christmas season, right?
Yeah.
What and my wife, my far, far better half. Whipped cream.
Yeah.
Cream whip. Sorry. Cream whip. The song, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Back on subject, I've always wondered, there's lyrics from it are, there'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. Mm-hmm. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Mm-hmm. I've never understood that the one line, there'll be scary ghost stories. Mm-hmm. And today, before this podcast, knowing I was supposed to prep and prepping for this podcast, why is the line there'll be scary ghost stories. That makes no sense. Who tells
Krampus.
scary ghost stories on Christmas? But
Krampus.
Germans.
if you listen to this very famous Americanized Christmas song, it's to read the last of it, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago, is exactly what we're talking about. And that is a uber, super famous, repeated every Christmas, American accepted, North American accepted, worldwide accepted Christmas song. But that explains, I think, and has a lot to do with everything we're talking about. And I think it's amazing that line, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. And it now makes sense perfectly because of what we're talking about. Do y'all see what I'm saying?
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, but that makes sense in that Christmas song. That's why they say that, is what I think. And she brought that up because she was like, well, you just said that today. Is like, why do they say there'll be scary ghost stories? And
well, it's because Krampus. Because that was the time. How old is that song, by the way? Let me look that up.
It's the most wonderful time of the year is the song. But there'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and then all of a sudden, and then caroling out in the snow, which is being out in bad weather, a place you don't want to be. And then the next line is, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. I never got that.
I have a request for Hollywood, though. Could you please stop remaking Scrooge? For God's sake.
Yeah, please.
That's one
Ryan
ghost
Reynolds,
story.
Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell should just do Deadpool. And I don't know if Will Ferrell's done or not, but that whole Sherlock Holmes thing was really bad.
Wait, did they remake Scrooge?
Yeah.
The Bill Murray one?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Not Scrooge.
They have this new thing
the
on
story
Apple
of Scrooge.
TV with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, and I'm not even going to watch it.
I'm done. Well, I saw that and I was like, I love Ryan
I'm not
Reynolds.
going to watch it. I don't even care. I'm not watching.
It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year was released in 1963. So it's not super old.
It's not super old. It's like way after the Nazis.
I don't know when you were
born. That's like way after
but,
the Nazis were already here.
That's pretty old, but to have that quote in it is a direct relation of this entire premise of what we're talking about. And I think that's amazing.
The one thing I didn't find
was
anything on Black Peter.
And the lines after that make sense.
Black Peter's been canceled. He is either Santa or Belsnickel's boy.
Slave
just
boy.
Like a clone.
Yeah, it's essentially a slave boy. When I was trying to the art that I did. Yeah. So
the name makes so much sense. Oh my god. I didn't even.
Yeah. We're making connections.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just happening all in real time. I didn't even.
Well, let me tell you.
Now.
Trying to
that was canceled. I get
that was my big juice for the entire podcast was that the reason that
I'm sorry
there'll be scary ghost stories is mentioned in that song.
Yeah,
no.
Cool. That explains everything, and that's the entire premise of what we're talking about. Is it didn't come from Santa and the legends thereof. Undeniably, wasn't this happy guy that could travel all over the world and bring you presents if you're good. And if you were bad, you got coal in your stocking. Like, no, it's like there's scary ghost stories and tales of the glories.
So what were the glories then?
Long ago. And the glories.
So the glories in 63 would have been Jesus.
No,
or whatever,
not 63.
Right?
I'm talking like Krampus.
Yeah, no, but I know
what they're talking about.
But I'm talking about when the song's written, homie.
63. I mean, that's like Frank
63.
Sinatra shit. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that was Andy Williams.
Sorry to curse.
I don't think Sinatra liked Andy Williams.
I will.
And
just
if he did, I'm starting a rumor that he didn't right here. So
that it was custom, and I had to look it up before I said anything, but I was pretty sure I was right, and I was.
Yeah.
It was the custom during the Victorian era to tell ghost stories during Christmas because the sun went down really early. You're in candlelight for most of the night. You're gathered around. A lot of people told ghost stories during the Victorian era during Christmas. And then the glories of Christmas is long, long ago may in fact be a reference to several medieval battles that happened on Christmas Day. So while I do not necessarily deny that your version is completely plausible, I think a much more recent in history connection to something in 1963, maybe the medieval era before it's a classical pre-Christian era connection.
Sure.
It's still completely disassociated with anything going on in 63.
Say what? I'm sorry?
Still completely disassociated with anything that anyone knew that was going on in 1963.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the average person in 63 would have.
Yeah.
Much I have to assume.
That long ago for further than longer ago is what I'm saying. So we're on the same page.
I'm just going to make the assumption that this song was written on December 1st of 1963. Just 2 weeks after the murder of John F. Kennedy, and the ghosts that they're talking about and the stories they're telling are about John F. Kennedy being a ghost in their house.
I'm going to get some tinfoil. I got to get tinfoil. Hold on.
Oh, God.
The glory.
I got to get some tinfoil.
Were for advertising purposes. Almost all of them were written to sell things.
Out of tinfoil, I would do it right now.
What'd you say, Jessica?
I said that almost every Christmas song that was written in the 60s was written as advertising to sell things.
Right.
Too. So that
and they were selling the New World Order post JFK assassination. I mean,
I love it.
This is my canon. Okay.
Oh my God. The glories are Vietnam. We already had dudes in Vietnam.
Well, I'll Be Home for Christmas is a war-based Christmas song. Yeah.
That movie. Wait, I'll Be Home for Christmas. So is White Christmas.
Oh, no, it's cold outside. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, can we hash this out?
It's a different kind of war.
I am so tired of hearing people say that Baby It's Cold Outside is a song about rape. Anyone who thinks Baby It's Cold Outside is about rape has never tried to seduce a woman.
Have you seen the Saturday Night Live skit where they it's not that old, it's about 10 years old, I think, where they do Baby It's Cold Outside, but then they sing this song to each other, and I forget the cast, I forget whatever the actors and actresses in that, but they reenact it, male, female, and then she stays, and then they wake up, and then he's like, but it's really not that bad. You should probably go. It's so good.
I just think
nails it. And every time somebody posts that's, sexist or, whatever about not even rape, but like,
date rape,
whatever. Yeah.
Bill Cosby stuff.
Whenever they comment on that, I just copy and paste the YouTube video of that SNL skit where they wake up the next morning. And he's like, yeah, no, it's not that bad outside. Like, you should see this skit. It's brilliant. It's
all I'm saying is it was written and performed by a man and his wife. And it was about how like women are like, I really can't stay. Like, it's not about like, I really can't stay. It's cold outside. Like, it's not rape. It's seduction.
No, it's not.
It's very cat and mouse. I mean, it's not, look, that's a classic and beyond like, Sinatra shit. Sorry, stuff. That is it's from, when was that written? I'll Google it.
I would venture it was in that
Like,
same.
we're gonna listen to these songs like Tannenbaum, Christmas Tree, and da da da, and we're gonna call them out on that. We could do 100 songs like that, but that's the easiest. And that was
It was written by Frank Loesser in 1944.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that they
Before
don't
the end of
understand
World War
courtly
II.
love. And this is an expression of courtly love, which is very different than hookup culture and where you're supposed to pursue and give chase and
and have fun
dance.
and go back and forth.
That's what you just said about American culture, was that the other song was written, this was during World War II. And as you just said, after World War II, with the There'll Be Scary Ghost Stories and et cetera, et cetera. This was a totally different planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't mean that at all. And it meant totally different to totally different people.
Yeah. Like it's
we still listen to it. And now they're trying to say they meant that. You weren't there.
They're like, it's so
you
rapey.
Weren't there when they wrote that. That didn't mean that to those people. And you have no idea what you're talking about.
So one fact, and then that is going to put me into a rant. I'm so stoked. But
I'm watching him finish this glass, and I want to keep poking him on the topic, so he'll like really get red.
the guy who wrote the song "Baby It's Cold Outside" also wrote "Guys and Dolls" the musical. So
I love Guys and Dolls.
Are you serious?
So yeah, same thing.
So he was queer as pink ink, and every time he opened his mouth, purse fell out. Yeah, and that was back in the day when you couldn't be a gay man.
It was Guys and Dolls, not Guys and Guys.
Guys, have you seen Guys and Dolls?
I love Guys and Dolls. I will never not see that show.
That was not written by a straight man.
No musicals are.
No.
He had two beards.
Perfect. I had no idea that was written.
He had two beards.
That makes that song even more to the point.
Did you say two beards?
Yeah, he had two beards. Lynn Garland.
So two ex-wives.
Is that like a Jesus thing where it's like
no, he had two wives.
It's like two wives.
Gay man who had two wives.
Mutton chops.
Mutton chops.
Oh God, it put me on to something. Oh, you said it's like okay, so this is an interesting thing about American culture, how American Christianity actually. But we like, as a post-enlightenment reason-based society, we like to read our history through the eyes of us.
Mm-hmm.
And not through.
I have so many things to say about that.
We know everything.
Go ahead.
Not through the eyes of those who wrote the piece or received the piece, but those we want to base it on us, which is I'm digging more into certain same topic I was talking about when last time you were on, Jessica.
I'm so sorry, but that's why we defeated Hitler, and that's why we went over the top at the Battle of the Bulge, and all of these people who never had anything to do with any of these heroic acts placed themselves in the position of that we did these things. We have a legend that we tell about ourselves as a people.
Well, it's like that happens
with us.
That happens day to day with sports. Mm-hmm. I was raised in Alabama, so I'm an Alabama fan. Feel free to hate me. But how many people do you hear talking about their football team who go, "We won against blah blah blah"? You didn't do anything. Glory. You sat on your ass and watched it on TV. Shut up. Yep. But that leads me to the point, like, we read, we listen to this song, or other people listen to this song and go, "Oh, this is obviously rapey. This is about rape." It's like, no, you just made a period piece about you instead of about the piece that it was written. That's what happens with Genesis. That's what happens with early Christianity, because we were talking earlier about these different ideas and about how you had described the story of Santa kind of similarly as to the story of Jesus, which is essentially, I agree with you, but it's the bastardized pop culture sense of Jesus rather than the actual historical and theological sense of Jesus.
Totally agree with you too.
And so it's fascinating because when it comes to reading Genesis, when it comes to reading the New Testament, when it comes to listening to the song Baby It's Cold Outside, we deal with the same egocentricity regardless of what we're reacting to. And that is really dumb.
Okay, so y'all, there's also a basic premise that Hitler said, and we're going to go full circle and far beyond what I thought we would go to tonight, based off this entire
talk about
podcast.
Commies and Nazis again?
This entire podcast is based off of the origin of Santa Claus.
Sure.
All right. So Hitler said, and what I've said and what we've been talking about, one of the main quotes that Hitler said, and he was dead on and dead right. And every
I'm
government
so glad to have Kanye West on our show. Thank you for showing up.
Please don't compare me to Kanye West.
No, that joke doesn't land. Damn.
Yeah.
They can't all be singers.
I would love his money, but yeah, no. Hitler said people will believe a big lie, but they won't believe a little lie.
Yep.
Wasn't that Goebbels? I think that was Hitler's propaganda minister.
That has a lot of semblance.
Well,
I'm trying to keep on topic, and I'm not trying to take away from the conversation. But Hitler said people will believe a big lie instead of a little lie. You tell a huge lie, people will believe it. Santa Claus, religion, That is the same thing Hitler did.
Well, yeah, and it's also compounding on little lies. There are two ways to lie to people.
Compounding on little lies, but the bottom line is you tell a huge lie, you have a bunch of money, a bunch of power, you get away with it. Well, if you tell a huge lie, it's so ridiculous, people will believe it. Well, and Hitler said that.
No, and I agree with you. I'm just saying on the other option is tiny little lies, little deceptions that seep into the very foundation of things.
Sure.
Because look, because you
like boiling a frog.
And I'm just on the same subject as Santa Claus and what we're talking about and throughout history and how
when you talk about Santa Claus, you're really talking about like a sort of like a great lie that we tell or a legend that we tell. Exactly. So any of those topics can kind of like filter in through like what are the
that's what I'm saying
bedtime stories we tell ourselves even as adults.
Yeah, you get it.
Well, it's funny.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Right.
But Hitler said that, and we're talking about Santa Claus, and semblance and relationship to other things that we believe in and have been told. That's got a lot of consistency and coincide with a lot of things that throughout history we've been told.
I'm not sure why I thought that was Goebbels, but no, you're right. It totally was that dude.
It was probably written by Goebbels, though.
No, it was apparently, I just looked it up. It was dictated by him for his book.
Yeah, but like, how Hitler had a ghostwriter? Come on.
Maybe somebody ghost wrote his
book.
But I don't know, maybe.
Published as his quote, but people will believe a big lie.
They will believe a big lie, and the reason I brought that up,
they can't believe you would tell something so ridiculous and so horrible, or so like bad, or that much of a lie. Humans don't live that way.
The thing Cam was saying about
to adulthood, they don't believe that way. Humans don't act that way. They don't believe that way. They don't. Our hairless lemming monkey minds don't think, well, that's too big of a deal. No one would ever lie about that. And world leaders and history and how we've been taught to raise our children and, the way to keep people in control all exist off of that. And that's a very good way to do that. That's all I'm saying.
Right. The point about the compounding of the little lies is like you can see it. An example of what Cam was saying, you can see that in the narrative over the last couple years, wherein what I found,
I'll be right back,
from an interpretation of news from a bunch of different sources is like you'll get a limited hangout here and a limited hangout here, and they're all telling a truth, but they're all only telling part of a truth, and the part of that truth that they tell is often exaggerated just to skew, and then that's the part that's emphasized. And so
there's particles of the foundation.
So that's where you get to, that's a more effective way to get to a big lie or a control mechanism, is the compounding of the smaller inaccuracies. Like, let's just misrepresent.
What is Santa Claus? What is Santa
Claus? Can I tell
you? A bunch of little lies. A bunch of little lies. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it brings people together. It's the worst time of the year. It's the hardest time of the year.
Hold on, let Cam talk.
I was just going to say, the reason I brought up the little lies, it is kind of tied into Santa, because earlier you mentioned the mushrooms and you mentioned that it was in Gnostic churches, which reason I mentioned
it was
or it's in paintings or something,
was Siberia and the Arctic.
But
Arctic was where it came from. And as far as the churches and the that were based off of that, I don't know that information. I apologize, but no, it was it came from Siberia and the Arctic, which is interesting because those mushrooms don't grow well there. But it was so long ago, the Earth was very different then. So,
well, the reason I mentioned that is because someone mentioned Gnostic churches, and if you look at the little lies, that piss me off the most, they are the little lies that came through to Christianity today, American Christianity, and those two. So there are three that are kind of big, but one of them's so pathetic it's sad. But the two big lies that have really gained a lot of sway within American Christianity and kind of greater Christianity are Gnosticism, the little lies that this matches up with the Hebrew scriptures, with the concepts that were in the Second Temple period. I know this is very high level. I'm sorry.
No.
Gnosticism and Neoplatonism are both little lies. Some of them entered in through, if this pisses you off, I'm sorry, Augustine. He was a Gnostic before he was a Christian, started doing most of his writings within 5 years of being a Christian, and brought in a lot of Gnosticism. He brought in a lot of the concepts that the Orthodox Church, for example, rejects. Specifically, one of the big ones that it rejects is the concept of original sin or imputed sin, right? That you are guilty because your parent was guilty, because their parent was guilty, all the way up to Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
This is a lie of Gnosticism that has made its way into the common vernacular of the Christian church.
Now, I agree with you fully. Why would you think that would piss me off?
Oh, no, not you. I'm talking in general, people who like.
Oh, okay. Augustine. Okay. I was about to say, we're on the same page.
I'm
saying
you.
Exactly what you're saying.
No, not you.
I thought you were talking to me. Yeah. No, you're good.
The royal you. But the other one is Neoplatonism. Neoplatonism being primarily this uber dualistic view of the human, where in the Hebrew scriptures, in early Christianity, up until a certain point, the concept that you would be a dualistic being rather than a holistic one was unheard of, unthought of. You were not a eternal soul matched with a material body that dies and is bad, right? Well, and so like when you're talking about these different things earlier about Santa Claus and how that lie is similar to Jesus, my brain goes to the fact that this is not the original concept that was taught. This is the one that was derided and destroyed by Gnosticism and Neoplatonism that we have now. It's the common pop culture Christianity.
Yeah, and in no way I am saying that
honestly,
you're good. Lie, but
dude.
The
No
thing
worries.
that I love about this preface and this premise and where we're building from and this podcast is that Santa Claus and Krampus is the biggest lie that we teach children, and I don't like that. But and I don't know what happened 12,000 years ago,
Right.
but I think that's what we teach children to interject and prep them for whilst we take them to church or.
Right. No, and that's a problem. I agree with you fully that that's a problem.
You know, I mean, that's the thing in modern day. In modern day, a long time ago, we had concepts and we had other things that we were more aware of, technologies that are far different than today. You know, were a little different, and I'm just not happy with the theory or the legend of that, and I don't like doing that to my children. I don't like that people do that to their children.
Dude,
I'm with you.
So there's a famous comedian who successfully,
we can say his name because he's probably
Bert
already
Kreischer. So Bert Kreischer has successfully convinced his children that Santa Claus is real.
Who?
Bert Kreischer.
The machine.
Yeah.
The machine.
The machine. So the machine has successfully convinced his children that Santa Claus is real, to the point like he has a Santa Claus on speed dial that anytime he dials that number, Santa calls. They have he talks gleefully of making little kids cry,
His
like little Jewish kids cry. His daughters are 16 plus, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Santa. He is actively worked at it.
I do not like
to these children for a decade.
I'm sorry.
And a half
I think he's
plus.
Brilliant. I know he's brilliant. And
I wouldn't say brilliant.
I'm not going to get into all that, and I don't think he's brilliant.
No, he's a dum dum. He's funny, but he's a dum dum.
He's smart enough to get where he is, but
I think he was placed.
He got there, whatever. He's got the timing. He's good enough. But yeah, no, I can't stand the sight of him. Much less the sight of him is you do your comedy act without a shirt on, and I can't.
I do. So Large Marge asks, how do I break it to my 8-year-old that Santa is crap? You want to know what? Okay, Whip.
Yeah.
Approximately how many children do I have?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
537.
Here's one thing.
I've already done it. I'm already
this.
married into my wife teaches that.
I'll do this on this episode, and it's so late in the episode most people won't hear it. Hey, Whip, your number's off by 1, but it won't come to fruition until March or May.
Oh! You're gonna name it.
I have that in my head. We don't know about the middle name yet. We'll talk about that off air.
We'll talk about that later.
That's amazing.
But congratulations.
Thank you.
Holy crap. Congratulations, you and Mama. What a blessing.
I know. It's so awesome. That thing can brave through silicone. I don't know if it has an axe on it, but got through the barrier.
Yeah.
But let me answer this question as a dad.
Hey man, let me just tell you, congratulations.
Thank you. I told Jessica earlier. She's one of 4 people that knew before this. But
I really enjoyed Whip's reaction. It was really cute.
That know that now.
I thought it was a great time to do it. March, when it comes to my children, what we have done, which they're all young, but what we have done is we have played the Santa game, right? So instead of Santa being a real person, Santa is a game we play with those who want to play the game. We know he's not real, but if you want to play the game with Santa, if you want to do the thing, the cookies and all of that, you are welcome to do so. We'll do that. We don't sign anything, Santa. Everything comes from Mom and Dad, but we will play the game, and it is a game, and that's what they know. So
Look at
that's
that thing.
that's
I
us.
think that's a great game.
I'm having
That's
stove
brilliant.
envy right now.
But
I think that's brilliant, Cam. I'm sorry, I gotta put. We live in a very small house. I think that's brilliant, Cam. I love
thank
it.
you.
I love it. I'm sorry. I've got to put.
That was
Fucking guy.
that was my solution. Is
No, that's brilliant, and that's the thing. Is it's like to i.e. play Santa.
yeah. And there's
What's better to end the podcast or to talk about this by a wood stove and a Christmas tree in this house in the middle of nowhere.
Here's
That's
the thing.
Virginia and Tennessee while I'm in North Carolina. So
it's very good, but here's the end of the podcast.
let's do it.
Well, let me ask a because I've been working too much and I'm tired and I need the encouragement. So I'm going to ask these two a question and then I'll ask you all the final question. Okay. Whip, what's your favorite thing about me?
My favorite thing about you.
About you?
Oh, I will say it is your unbridled enthusiasm for antagonistic approaches to life. Like in all things, like what I see in you is a man who wants to see a thing. Just let me touch it. Just let me poke it one. Just gonna poke it again. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you. My favorite thing about Whip, let me think. Obviously, I've had some of this, as Jessica can tell, if I'm in this mood.
Oh, you got that Elijah Craig.
Yeah, dude.
You got that high-end Elijah Craig.
Dude.
Some people are mean drunks and some people are happy drunks. But Cam is a love drunk.
I am.
He's a love drunk.
You know that he is inebriated when he tells you how much he loves you. So
it's true.
Proceed.
It's true. Whip, I love that you think. Because you're an almond farmer, and I'm sure that there are a lot of dumb people out there that wouldn't expect that of you. But you bring things to my attention, and I bring them to Monica and Brad's that I would never have thought of. You're always thinking it through, and I love that. Also,
thanks,
your edits are getting better, and do more of them.
I
won't ask you the same question, Jessica, because I know your favorite thing about me is still my beard. But
I was struggling. I was trying to come up with something, and
here we go. This will be easier, I think. What have you missed most about me?
Geez, that's basically the same question, isn't it?
Is it? I don't think it is because I feel like it's easier because you could just say something like my way to dispel hard things with humor or something. I don't know.
Oh no, gosh, I'm really not that clever. I've been sick for 2 weeks, so my brain's not like operating full capacity.
Me
right
too.
Now.
And thank you, Jackie, for hooking me up with the job.
I have sincerely missed our weekly after parties where we get to talk about all of our stuff. And that was so therapeutic for me, and we haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, well,
and I miss that.
I am still here, even though I am currently working 7 damn days a week, and I'm
May I tell you my favorite thing about you, Cam?
What's that?
You invited me into your world on this podcast. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I do love your beard. I mean, I'm trying to grow one right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm trying to grow one first time ever. And I need to call you, take notes. But no, seriously, man, seriously, thank you for having me. And I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Oh, for sure.
And thank you very much. This was very enjoyable. It's one of my favorite subjects that I have been hip to studying for a long time, and it's been a lot of fun. And I have further researched stuff about Christmas, and it goes many levels deeper. But I just had a lot of fun tonight.
I'm glad
talking with all of you. And I've known Mr. Whip and Spoon for about 15 years. And thank you, Mr. Whip and Spoon, for inviting me.
How long have I known you, Whip?
Like 3 years, maybe.
God, how has it been that
2.5.
long, though?
Only
It
that
seems
weird. Well,
wild.
thank you for letting
baby,
me.
We've been through that long COVID together, baby. You know.
We bonded in the trenches of COVID.
We did. But let me ask the big question.
Mr. Pipes, hold on real quick, Cam. Mr. Pipes, I love you, buddy. All right, go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, anyone good with Whip is good with me. So I mean, it was easy.
That's one of my best friends in the world, right there. That man.
You know, I would say the same.
Yeah,
I would say the same.
Friend of mine, friend of yours, friend of mine. Yes, sir.
I
had a great time talking about all this. This is awesome.
Absolutely. I had a good time as well.
Okay.
And what's funny is how like this conversation was able to like hit into my little points of not expertise, but like points that I'm studying right now, because I'm like, here, let's talk about this thing. I love that. I love it when that comes up, when it's just a little thread that I can pull on.
I think we all did, a good job of keeping on subject, and at the end got some free flow. And it was good meeting you, young lady.
Thank you. I know you didn't count on me just showing up in the middle of your whole vibe.
It was very good meeting you.
Everyone tell Jessica.
No worries.
Everyone tell Jessica that we miss her.
We're all symbiont beings, and this has been great. And I thank y'all for inviting me and welcoming me into your world. Thank you.
So let's get to the big question.
Are you mad about symbiont, Spoon?
No. Spoon.
Is it a symbiont?
Fuck, I'm never gonna live that shit down.
All right, hey, cheers, Cam. Let's cheers. Cheers.
So let's get to the big question, the last question, and I'm going to give you some time to prep Pipes, because I'm going to ask these two because I haven't asked them in a while.
Okay.
Mr. Spoon, aka Frank Zappa, the Ammon farmer,
aka Mr. Whip,
Whippy boy,
boy.
What gives you hope at this point? What helps you carry on? You know my deal. You know that we've dealt with some nonsense. We've dealt with the winter. What's the word? You used it earlier. The winter solstice of the last 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
People are sad. People need some hope. Give them some.
The hope is that people are over it. They're over it. The hope is that they're over it, dude. Like the people that literally wrote me out of their life because I didn't say what I didn't agree with what the television said.
Right.
Those people have texted me, and like, so I mean, they're over it. And like, I go to the grocery store and I see faces and I can smile. You know what? Like, what do you want, man? What more do you want? You just got to live that. And you see people that are doing bad things, and they're like actually in court about stuff. Like, two super horrible people, like, over the last 2 years are like actually in court. Like, dude had ordered by a judge to answer questions that Rand Paul never got him to answer.
Oh, hey, there was like a whole 7-hour thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was I can't be screwed to actually like look into that. Did anything happen with that? Anything interesting?
They okay. So he admitted that his entire lockdown strategy and distancing strategy was entirely based on a subordinate that he sent to China, who then was told by some nameless Chinese official that the lockdowns worked great. And then he came back and told that to dude, and that's why dude implemented it. on the visit of one dude and the word of mouth from one nameless Chinese dude. And he admitted that in a court of law. So that's a white pill.
I'm just saying, I would never on YouTube say that I wished ill upon someone. But if the midget fell off a cliff, I wouldn't feel sad.
Hey, I could throw Mama from a train.
I'm saying.
I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Oh my
what
God.
What a fabulous movie.
One of the best.
Danny DeVito's a master, and I'll have words with anyone who says otherwise.
Yeah.
The other white pill.
Them's fighting words.
The other white pill is that our because over the last few years I've become digital friends with some people, some leafs, and I never it's like the elf and the dwarf meme, like I never, what about a Canadian? I never thought I'd be friends with a Canadian, but what about a friend? So these dudes are like, they're clever and they're smart. Who knew? Canadians are clever and smart and fun.
Wait,
they can be cool. Just don't, someone's gonna clip this. Oh God, I said it out loud.
All I'm saying is that our GC group chat, for those uninitiated, is like fire. Like I don't know what you guys do online, but like there's a quip a second up in that biatch.
So these Canadians, right? They got Castro's son in front of a tribunal because he has to answer for that emergency convoy trucker stuff. And he's like in front of them saying, oh, I never called anybody any names. And then like, someone obviously does an edit of him like, these people are racist and they're often misogynistic and they have links to the blah, blah. It's just like, it's all, but it's actually in court now. And these things are on court record. So like stuff takes time. And like people have to see things and people have to experience bad things before they will believe that anyone in power like doesn't have their best interest. That's what we're all told. So if they don't see it, if nobody goes through hardship, nothing's ever going to change. And like there's no legal way to do what needs to be done. So like until people wake up, nothing's going to change. And at least now you can point to court transcripts.
Well, hey, let me tell you, like the mask thing sucked. The vaccine thing sucked. But they implemented a way to tell that people are, what's the nice way to put this? What's the YouTube approved way to put this? That the mentally challenged are easily detected at this point.
Sure. I know from watching Jimmy Dore that according to YouTube science, the vaccines are safe and effective. They totally work. They will prevent transmission and they are super awesome for you and nothing bad will ever happen for you. And personally, as not a doctor, I can only go by the YouTube science and say that's what YouTube recommends. So that's the official stance of the show, I would say.
It's crazy.
According to the approved YouTube science.
So Elon, I forgot that Elon didn't buy all social media.
Right.
I pretty much only use Twitter now. So I forgot that
Susan wouldn't have a job if Elon had bought YouTube.
Just like that you can't say the R word here. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, it's not really. Like I tiptoed around it because I would like to make some of that.
They're saying things for shock value, but like, I mean, who cares? That's not the point of saying things.
Here's the thing, though. It's
sometimes
like
it's the perfect word, and I resent not being able to use it when it's applicable.
Well, it's like
just substitute ginger.
Several years ago, you use the hard R. We go ginger in this house. But like several years ago, iDubbbz could say N-word, F gay word, and still be monetized.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in a world where that's not possible.
Did you see the recent Twitter thread by that greasy guy about the antidepressant benefits of crack? Complete with like pictures of his very used pipe and blah blah blah. Or maybe it was a stock photo. I wouldn't want to put that on.
Was it Hunter Biden?
No,
I think his photo was like a weirded out photo of that dude, but I don't believe
Twitter's
it was
been
actually
legendary lately.
Yeah,
that was one of them.
Yeah, Yeah. He's like, here's my decade-long research on how this ups my dopamine.
All right. So, Jessica, same question for you, and then we'll hit Pipes because he's got to ruminate. He's got to marinate this question.
I'm gonna marinate and sum it up.
Do it, baby.
I am.
I don't usually ask you this question because you're usually next to me, and I do miss you.
What is the question again?
What gives you hope right now?
Okay, that's right. All right, what gives me hope? What gives me hope is that all of the craziness that has happened was purposefully ordained. This is the will of God. And through it, more people have been awakened to just the utter craziness that's been going on, in their names. What's being done in their names. And it's been a slow process, but I think people are finally, as Whip said, starting to get fed up with it. And if people, I don't want to say any names, but if the people in power weren't in power now, the people who are waking up would not be waking up.
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely actually grateful for Joe Biden being president right now. I think it's good. I think all of the things that are happening are good. I think that God is good, and glory to God for all things. This is his will, and it's good. And I see all the ways that it's good.
Well, and what's good about that is a lot of people, when they view God, they view him as needing to stand up to this particular view of what is good rather than the view of subverting evil.
The air is dry.
And I think that that's what we're seeing is God, which, not everyone will agree with me on this, but God is doing a hell of a job of subverting evil right now. And we're seeing more and more people like incapable of dealing with the constant lies that they've received. And that's a positive. Of course, you also have the dark horses, which are Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes, and they've roped in Kanye West on this.
Oh, poor Kanye. Did y'all talk about Kanye already?
We didn't really talk about it.
Not enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, we did.
It's so sad because I was talking to Brad the other night. We did a short, not short. We did an episode of the Propaganda Report the other day, and he was talking about the meeting with Donald Trump and Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, and how Milo Yiannopoulos was not mentioned, but he was there. But it's like clearly Milo's the dark horse on this. There's no good that comes.
Maybe this is a conversation for off the air, but how is Milo's gay conversion therapy going?
I don't know, man. Hey, he is a provocateur. So, obviously we don't believe anything that he says. But at the same time, sorry. This dude called Trump daddy for years and wanted him in office, right?
Who called Trump daddy?
Milo.
No shit.
Yeah.
Daddy Trump. And I can't imagine him.
Oh, hey. Look, like my hot photo here. Girls 18 XYZ. We have to click on this, you guys. You guys should all click on it.
But no, it's obvious. Very obviously, he is a dark horse in this situation, and I don't know if it's for the pure joy of trolling, the pure joy of being a provocateur, or if he's mentally handicapped. But at the end of the day, like that whole situation, Trump should not have met with Nick Fuentes, and that was a bomb. And I don't think Trump realized what he was going
to do.
Can
I do this real quick? Can I do this real quick?
Yeah, we'll I'll ask you the question in a minute. Let's talk.
Okay.
Was Fuentes tied to Charlottesville? Like that?
I don't
not
that I know of. That was mostly Kris Cantwell, I think. That was directly tied to that.
Dude, I just learned the other day that so Kris Cantwell, I guess, was head of whatever group through that rally.
So he was a big part. Okay, so Kris Cantwell.
I'm just trying to remember the name of the group.
So I don't know the name of the group. I can't help you with that. Kris Cantwell was a part of the ANCAP milieu back in the day. But he then became essentially self-defined National Socialist.
Okay.
You all may remember him from the Charlottesville incident. He was the crying Nazi.
Okay. So
I don't think Fuentes was there though. He's like a baby. He's
also 10, so he wasn't old enough to be there.
He's a dumb, retarded baby.
So the only thing I know about Nick Fuentes is that he had me blocked before I ever found out that he existed. So I don't know. I'm gonna take that as a W. He seems like a weird nerd, and
that may be the most unimpressive human being that I've ever seen on social media, because it's like people have shown me videos of Nick Fuentes talking, and I'm like, he's dumb. This is dumb. Why are you? He may be charismatic dumb,
so I don't really need to listen to what he has to say.
But can we talk about the irony of someone with the last name Fuentes with Mexican heritage being a white supremacist? Like, what is that? What is that?
Well, no, you can't say that necessarily, because all of the cultures
but he said
across the world have this divide where my uncle, for example, is Cuban, but he's a light-skinned man. He considers himself white. In Cuba, he's white. There are black Cubans and there are white Cubans, and he's white. So if you told my uncle who's Cuban that he's not white, he wouldn't understand what you meant.
It's just so bizarre that there's this tiny child that's commanding the respect of dumb people, mostly, from what I can tell, that's sitting with the past president of the United States. Like, what is that?
Well, the reason I asked about Charlottesville was that...
Sorry.
No, you're good. The reason I asked about Charlottesville was that I totally just learned last week or the week before that the American group that organized the thing was the Rise Against, Rise something, I don't know, but that group was literally the American
version
chapter
of the Azov Battalion.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that.
That's what it is. It's literally, and those, for real.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh.
What the fuck?
Can I say I love all y'all, and I'd like to sign off with something?
Well, hey, let me ask you the question, and then you
do
can.
The question.
Okay.
All right. So, as I alluded to, by the way, that's hilarious. I'm just sorry. That's fucking the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. But the last 2 years, 2.5 years, how has it been so long? Life has been terrible. People have been locked down. People that I know personally who were drug addicts and got out of the drug life to get a job, lost their jobs, and then ended up killing themselves because they got back into the life.
Mm-hmm.
That is
dark. These last 2.5 years, more than 2.5 years, have been awful. And there have been a lot of people on the verge of desperation, and things are getting better. Thank God. But during all of that time, my goal has been to share hope with those who need it, to create little pockets of hope, little silver linings on the bottom of dark clouds that people can use to continue on with their life and do something, and maybe take that little bit of motivation and continue on in a positive way. So the question I've asked for the last 2.5 years is, what is something in your life? It could be local, it could be personal, global, statewide, whatever. I don't care. What's something right now that gives you hope and the motivation to carry on and to do good work?
This quote, and let me read it.
Okay.
This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. The being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances. Complaining to the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, my privilege to do for it whatsoever as I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got a hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possibly before handing it on to future generations. Cut and dry, black and white.
Who is that? What is that quote?
That quote comes from, it was a study from Hawthorne, one of his proteges, and it is my favorite quote of all time.
Did you just recite that quote?
No, I read it, and I want to memorize it. I memorize a lot of things, but that's the best quote of all time. And I should know it by heart, and I'm sorry that I don't, and I couldn't just quote it.
It's okay.
But
it's okay.
Summarizes everything for me for what you asked me, and that is how I want, and I don't live my life. But this podcast and being here with y'all has been amazing. But that is exactly how I would answer that question, and the answer to every question that I have a hard time with in my life. I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm interested in this, preface of this podcast for Krampus, and I do all of my art based on yin and yang. The balance of dark and light, the balance of good and bad. And there is no really right answer because none of us are smart enough. None of us know enough. And I really think that if you have a good intention and you do good for other people, we can all move forward. And I hate politics because there's no 70-year-old white billionaire in America that understands how any of us are talking or what we believe in. And that's why I don't talk about politics, and I don't want to. But I love all of you on this page.
Man.
I love all of you on this page. I love everyone that's listening right now to us. And I'm ever hopeful that we can all help each other. That's the best way I can put it, man. I'm an old hippie raised by old hippies. And but I'm not stupid and I'm not a hipster.
No, I like the hippies. I've always had good relationships.
Real hippies.
I use hippie medicine and magic.
Real hippies. I got nothing. I got nothing to lose. I don't need your gasoline. I don't need your grocery stores. I don't need anything from you. That was the original movement, from the music to the getting away from the cities. They were like, we don't need to depend on you. That was the original hippie movement. And hippie was a beyond the N-word racial slur. That was a insulting comment in the 60s. Hippie was a derogatory comment. But now, and they made it that, but a real hippie just moved away from everything and was like, I don't need nothing. I'm just going to grow my own food. I'm going to Janis Joplin. If you've got nothing, you've got nothing to lose. That is what I believe in. And that I just read to you is what I believe in. And I love everybody here and everybody that's listening.
I feel like what you read and what you've said lines up with the show. So before I let you go, which I promise I will.
No, it's fine, man. I'm having the
never
best
gonna let
time.
you
This
go.
is great.
You live here now.
Thank
you
you
live
very
with
much.
us.
Do you mind if I recite why this show is named what it is? The quote that it comes from?
Please do. Yeah, man.
All right. So the name of the show is The Mad Ones, which comes from a little bit of poetry within prose from Jack Kerouac's On the Road, which I haven't read the whole book. But
I've read a lot of Jack Kerouac. I love Jack Kerouac.
So I have this memorized and have since I was a teenager. But this is why this show exists. This is what this show is about, and this is what I live for. So
I'm happy to be on it, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much, sir.
The only people for me are the mad ones. The ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. The ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, 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 like fabulous yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the stars. That is why this show is named what it is. And I think that those are very similar.
I love the spiders across the stars. And who wrote that?
Jack Kerouac. So with that,
yeah,
I will
love a
good job. Crescendo.com.
I will let you go. Do you want to tell people where to find you on TikTok or wherever?
It's all you can Google Pipes Dreams, capital PIES DREAMS. So Pipes Dreams, not Pipe Dream. Add an S to that. Often confused, and that's you can basically just find my art. But I love getting into the theology of my art and the concepts behind it, and my non-commissioned art has everything to do with this show. It's
all I'm saying is if you want to put something behind me,
I'll send you. I'll send you T-shirts, stickers, whatever. We'll talk later. Yeah, I got you, bro. No, but thank you. Seriously, I'm honored, and I appreciate being on this podcast, and I've had a great time tonight, and I very much appreciate it. And I've just the subject matter to the people that I've met, you young lady, whip and spoon, not so much.
What a dork.
Too long. Don't hold up one of my prints. He's trying to hold up my stuff. Yeah, that's a print of one of my one of my most famous paintings I've had for a long time. That's called "Don't Skate, Just Die." Whatever. I love you, Mr. Whip Spoon. I love you.
You
very
not
much.
love Whip? Who
I
wouldn't
just met him tonight. I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, I think
you Cam though, we're good. You and me,
yeah. Of
this
course.
This guy, I don't know.
I think he needs to shave the mustache.
Her also, I don't know about this guy. Jokes aside, I love all of you. I love all
awesome.
of you.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'll let you go throw some more wood on that fire.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's going good. Wait, you want to see it? Hold on.
Yeah. I do.
It's going good.
Oh, lovely.
There's our Christmas tree. I live in this little bitty roundhouse, and
is it a yurt?
Let's all also give thanks to my wife for putting up with me, because our ceilings don't go, our walls don't go to the ceiling. Excuse me. And there's no privacy in this home, and that's the entire heat for this house. So
what a queen! Oh my God!
On the podcast all night, and I'm positive she's still awake.
Give her something pretty.
Yeah.
Go take care of the woman. Yeah. We appreciate you. Thank you so
much.
Love
y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. I'll talk to you all soon.
Bye. All right. So I'm going to keep you guys, obviously, because you're my people. I mean, he's now my people, but
he's good people, dude.
Well, if you know,
he's, I don't know, man. I don't know how else to say it. It's good people.
Yeah, that's it. And what's funny is some people do not understand that statement at all. Like I was having a conversation with someone the other day who did not understand what I meant by they're good people.
Yeah. I've literally given him the coat off my back. He still hasn't given it back. Sorry.
God bless him.
So
that makes him your girlfriend, by the way.
Is that how that works?
Well,
He's got a hand in my pocket. Put your hand in my pocket.
Every boyfriend I've ever had, I've stolen his jacket or his hoodie, and that's how I claim him. So
yeah, if you have a man's jacket, you own his soul. Like that's
correct.
Those are the rules according to the law.
Yeah.
I don't like how this conversation is turning out.
Hey, dude. Hey,
bro.
Okay.
Yes.
Beyond that, I guess we should wrap up. I'm so happy to have you on the screen with me, Jessica. I've missed you
So nice.
greatly because I've had, honestly, this is not a lie. I've had people say to me after some episodes where they're like, I miss Jessica because she asks the questions in my head when I know you're going over mine. Not that you aren't there, but you know the questions to ask because I'm up in here like, hey, let's talk about this thing that's so high-minded and dumb.
I'd love to attribute that to cleverness on my part, but
I
it's
believe
really
it
just
is.
asking the bare bones question.
All I'm saying is you're a help and I miss you. But I love you, Whip.
I'm gonna attribute Jess showing up to a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, and I got to tell you on air that there's a baby in the mommy.
So exciting.
I just make it do what it do, baby.
Crap.
But I should tell people what's coming up, and Jessica may show up for these. Fun fact: I invite her to every episode, and she gets to decide whether or not she comes.
I've been busy, guys. I am doing things. Just so
she's
you know,
doing a lot of things. She's very busy.
Doing things. I'm busy people.
Don't think that she's neglecting me. She's not.
Yes.
And
I've seen the cobblers. Those are things.
That's his. He made the cobblers.
Oh, that was your cobbler?
Yeah, that was my cobbler. Yeah, dude. If I need a cobbler, I make a cobbler. And that thing was blackberry. I
wish I could take credit for that cobbler. This shit looked fucking good. Oh,
dude,
we gotta get off air. I'm swearing. Go ahead and get us off.
There are a few things that I'm good at. A lot of things, actually. Like I'm not usually one to toot my own horn.
I'm good at a lot of things.
But like when it comes to like cooking stuff, like if you bring me some meat, if you go, hey, I want a good dessert, I'm there, dude. I'm good at those things. Meat and dessert. Like you can deal with actually I can make mashed potatoes too, but for the most part, you make your own sides. I'm there for the rest. But I feel like I should tell people what's coming up, and you may or may not show up for some of these. We'll see. And obviously
I got the email that said demon talk. That looked pretty interesting.
That one's gonna be fun because that will be in January.
Yeah.
But that's going to be with our
last
guest.
I was piqued by that one.
Yeah, so our last guest before this one was Izzy Centric, who is a demonologist and a paranormal researcher. And one of our fans, love you guys, sent me a DM and said, hey, what does what's funny is the fan didn't realize that it was from our show that he knew this other guy, but he goes, what does he think about Scott Johnson? And I was like, Scott Johnson, the exorcist that we had on the show like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh yeah, that must be how I heard it from him. And I was like, well, if you want to know, let's just bring those two together. And so it's going to be the return of the exorcist and the return of the paranormal researcher / demonologist.
Neat.
Should be fun, but that's in the future. I'm not even going to talk about that yet. Well, I mean, I did, but
Cam, I should probably wait, but I already brought it up. Somebody mentioned you to me in the wild.
Really?
Somebody mentioned your Tucker Carlson episode to me.
No,
dude.
And I was like, bro, that's my boy.
The wild. So we had on Brian Godawa a couple weeks ago, and he wrote a series of theological fiction books about the world, like so Noah, Abraham, Gilgamesh, etc.
I don't have admin powers anymore. I can't click on.
Sorry about it. Well, it's funny is I also don't pay for this anymore. Glory to God.
Oh.
But
did the thing run up? The thing ran out?
No. This is Brad's.
Oh, thanks, Spink.
Thanks, Spinky. Love you. But no, so we had Brian Godawa on. He wrote a series of book, the Nephilim Chronicles and Chronicles of the Watchers, and I've been reading through that, and it's fascinating because it's theological fiction. So it's like what was happening in the unseen realm at the same time as Noah, at the same time as Abraham, etc. Fascinating stuff.
Oh shit. This is great because I saw that Russell Crowe Noah movie.
Garbage.
And that shit was wild. And we need to talk about it.
So here's the deal. He was on, and we kind of talked about it briefly when he came on, but he's coming back next week. And we're going to be talking about the incarnation of Jesus Christ as a subversion of the Nephilim concept and the reversing of Herman. So if you're available, you're welcome.
Dude, that's exactly what happened.
I'm saying it's dude, you need to read these books. I can't
wait to hear that one.
You need to read these books.
For those books. I want to read them.
If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read all of them for free.
Yeah, awesome.
So I've been listening to them.
In the show links.
If I remember, I will. I'll do all that tomorrow.
I will remind you.
I don't have the patience. I don't have the energy to do it today. But I have read through Moses, and I'm about to start Joshua. I love what he does. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but his take on Ham, the son of Noah, and how there's so many cool things, dude. I'm telling you.
Dude, I would love to hear a story about Ham. Holy smokes.
Oh God. Well, and
I love Ham.
Well,
Ham's
you know what
great.
I love? It's such
Ham's great.
It's
little
such
bit of cranberry sauce on it.
It's smothered.
It's such a nerd thing, dude. But like, I read Noah. That was the first book I read. I read that before I talked to him, and now I've read like 4 other ones or whatever. But so in Noah, you kind of meet the these other gods, right? And one of them is Anu, which is actually, to break it down simply, these are the Watchers. These are angelic beings who are pretending to be gods, which I kind of hinted to within this episode. Like that's, I do buy into it to a pretty good degree.
Well, the Anu story I know is that Anu was like the head scientist of the whatever mission that landed here, right? And then the purse that's always mentioned, like they're all carrying that purse, and that's
I don't know
the technological computer aspect. That's the Anu story I know. Go ahead.
I don't know what that is in particular, but essentially what Anu and Inanna and who became Ashtar, who became, I want to say she's going to become Ishtar eventually. I don't know. But the idea was that they were trying to, because, you know, in Genesis 3, it talks about, there's the promise to Eve that there will be her seed will stomp the head of the serpent's seed.
Yeah.
He will bite, the serpent will bite at his heel, but her seed will crush the head. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it takes this concept, and it includes the Deuteronomy 32 worldview, the Genesis 6 worldview, and essentially Anu, Inanna, all of these other Sumerian gods are attempting to create these Nephilim and create the seed of the serpent, and to make it to a point where they delude the seed of Eve, Hava. And so they're trying to destroy that plan for redemption.
Okay, so I have heard the serpent seed mentioned, and specifically heard it referenced in ancient bloodline stories where they talk about the symbology of the serpent and the eagle, like the Mexican flag. Okay, so the Mexican flag being the serpent, the eagle over the snake, right? And then but it's an Italian flag. It's just Italy.
Yeah.
Like, right. But that's basically the church. So the eagle representing the overseeing empire of the new control, and then the serpent representing the older bloodlines.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. But if you take it back to Genesis, which is my favorite thing to do at this point,
Sure.
You have the promise that is in Genesis that God will redeem humanity through the seed of Hava, aka Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if you go through history, if you go through the lineages, if you go through the what's the word that they use on Ancestry.com, genealogies, that goes from Adam to Jesus, and he is the one who stomps the head of the right.
Yeah.
And so these books are fantastic in my opinion. I'm really enjoying, but even though, like I said, there are points I'm like, but I love what he does. Because you have Ham, and within the Sumerian culture, it happens to be raised by Noah's wife. Well, not really by Noah's wife, but by one of the priest kings of Sumer. And so the priest king of Sumer is named Lagalanu, which they use the god naming because that's something that happened a lot in ancient cultures, is the name of God would be included in your name if you were a servant of that god. So Lagalanu, Anu, he was connected to Anu. And so when they named Ham, the son of Noah, within this culture, his name was Kanananu or something, which is very smart because it was a mixture of Canaan and Anu.
Sure.
Which is foreshadowing of what will happen. I am going too deeply into it. It's fun. It's really cool what he does. Like I said, there are points that I'm going to be like, I don't know.
Was Noah from Canaan?
Well, he was okay. So he was from Mesopotamia.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially.
So the answer is essentially sure.
Canaan was of his seed. So Canaan, Noah had Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Ham had a son named Canaan. Thus named it. Yeah.
Okay.
So and then he goes from Noah to Gilgamesh, which is a fascinating book. From Gilgamesh to Abraham to Moses, and I'm moving into Joshua soon. But I love it. And all of that to say,
the story of Gilgamesh basically the story of Noah.
Okay, so the story. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay,
sorry,
we're gonna go long. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh
and Enkidu. They fought. They're brothers. No,
Enkidu.
Yeah, sorry.
So Enkidu was essentially like a. Here we go. Gilgamesh, son of Canaan. In this storyline,
Uruk.
Yes, at Uruk, and then so spoiler alert. So Gilgamesh at the end of his book becomes Nimrod.
Okay.
He changes his name to Nimrod, builds Babylon.
That was a self-applied epithet.
Yeah, I love how he did it in the book.
Who says you can't give yourself a nickname?
Narratively, very interesting, but that's not the last name he has. He takes into account how these people use names and how they named themselves. I love what Brian's done. All of that to say, we'll get into this later. This is too much for what I was getting at.
You're gonna do your episode on your. Now you're gonna do that episode now.
Let's not do that now.
We sort of did that somewhat with him before. He is coming back next week. We're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, so Quest needs. Sorry, that's why I was trying to get this comment. Quest is trying to get this answer about boo hags, which I don't know what a boo hag is.
Here's the deal, bro. We will get super chats as soon as we get the watch hours over. I think it's 4,000 or something. It's been harder to keep things regular and steady. The only way you get super chats is if you share the show, which you do a great job at, Quest. But the rest of
Quest
you,
is the guy.
Not so much. So share it. That's how we get to that point. Next week, Brian Godawa, we're going to talk about the incarnation of Christ, the nativity, and how that was a subversion of the plan of the enemy, as well as a conquest of the enemy. Will be a good episode. After that, Jessica's set to come back for this episode. We'll see. We're going to have Michael Jones, aka Mike Jones, aka Inspiring Philosophy, a guy who is on YouTube as well as TikTok, and he regularly takes down arguments. He's not quite my style of doing things, but I like a lot of what he does. But we're going to talk about the pagan origins of Christmas and completely destroy your world on that, because none of that is true. You're believing lies. After that, Jessica, hopefully you'll be there for this. Whip, if I haven't sent you an email, I'm going to attach you to it. We're going to have our so-called Christmas party. I have asked many of our past guests as well as friends we're going to come on. We're going to hang out. If they want to do a reading of something, if they want to share a song, whatever, we're going to have a good time. We're going to get ready for Christmas.
As long as that doesn't conflict with doing the exact same thing at church.
Hey, man. Well, here's the thing.
Then I will.
If you're not able to be there live, all I ask is if you can share something that I can play on the show.
Oh, I might could do that.
Yeah, whatever works. We're going to come together. We're gonna have some fun. That's all that it's about. It's all about Christmas. All about Jesus. All about songs and stories, regardless of where they come from. So that's what's coming up. I won't tell you about what's happening after that. We will get to the new year when we get to the new year. I think that's all I have to say. Jessica's on Twitter at SoupCanarchist. Whip is on Twitter at The Real Whip Spoon. Is that what it is now?
Just Real Whip Spoon.
Real Whip Spoon. It's hard to keep up.
And Pipes is on Twitter at Pipes Dreams Art.
Does he blow glass?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. He ought to with a name like that.
No, I mean, he's got like a bunch of friends that are hippies and do all sorts of that stuff. I'm pretty sure there's some glass blowers in there, but
I like the hippies. I have good relations with those people.
Dude, that dude does live paintings with bands and like does like flaming. He'll set them on fire. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Look, I love hippies, but I got to talk to these people about the deodorant situation, because every time I go to Asheville, I can't have these people in my car or they smell.
He's not one of them Asheville hippies, and those aren't actually hippies.
Yeah,
aluminum.
Those people.
Aluminum is a necessary component. Okay.
What? No, it's a necessary component to.
You need poison to kill the human stench.
I am fine dying young as long as I don't smell like my BO.
I am going to DM you some deodorant.
Oh my God.
I've
Please
tried.
Get us off
my
the air.
wife is essentially a hippie with this crap. None of it works.
We can't.
None of it works.
We can't.
But,
we cannot get into this.
Okay. Focus. If you want to follow us, if you want to join the Patreon, it's the best way to support me personally, as well as Jessica, if she comes back. I mean, I'm not saying you have to.
Oh, come get a little of that cheddar.
I'll throw you $1 or $2.
Black woman.
Did you say you're an independent black woman?
Cheddar.
I'm really too inebriated to be on the live.
All right. So if you want to join the Patreon, help us out. Patreon.com/theMadOnes. Like I said, we have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have tank tops. Tank tops are the preferred shirt of this show. I'm going to make a new Christmas one as soon as I get off of this. I have an idea. It's going to be awesome, and I'm going to share it. But you can go to wearethemadOnes.com/store. That'll take you to the entire store, which has everything. If you are looking specifically for the Black Tank Club, go to blacktankclub.com. It'll take you specifically to that section. If you would like to join mine and Brad's very sarcastic and not at all real presidential campaign, binkleyharless2024.com. Beyond that,
I'm voting. That's a real campaign. I'm voting for you.
I'm saying if you don't, I hate you. You're the only one with a sticker so far. I expect to see it on your vehicle. That's all I'm saying.
I don't drive.
Put it on your husband's vehicle.
I will put it on the back of my Crocs.
So I'm on Twitter at
put it on my koozie.
That's right.
I'm on Twitter at HamCarlos until Elon sets free my name and I can switch it over. I'm on TikTok at Cam Harless, on Instagram at Cam Harless. I'm everywhere at Cam Harless except for Twitter because Justin Trudeau is a bitch.
Free Jinx and free Cam Harless.
If you are listening and rather watch, youtube.com/themad ones. We're also on Rockfin, Odyssey, Rumble. If you'd prefer to watch, I don't know why you would. I'm not that pretty. If you'd prefer to listen, I highly recommend it. You don't have to see Whip's face that way. You can go to wearethemadOnes.com for that.
How are you going to see his hands?
That's true. That's true. Don't do that, but do it because I like those numbers. We're also on every podcatcher. So beyond that, that's all I've got for you. Anything you want to share with the world before we leave? And I show my awesome outro, which is beautiful.
Oh, I've got nothing. I'm sorry.
You have a chance to be a light in the world. So go light it up.